There are UFO stories, and then there are stories where something actually happens after the sighting. There's something physical, there's something measurable, there's something that doesn't go away when the lights disappear, because seeing something in the sky, I mean, that's one thing. But walking away with burns on your skin, blisters forming hours later, your body reacting like it was exposed to something it was never meant to encounter, well, yeah, that's different. And tonight's story, it's not about lights in the distance. It's about a moment on a quiet road in Texas where three people didn't just witness something strange. They might have gotten a little too close to that thing that was strange. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the TTT Podcast. The voice you're hearing, it's me. It's Matt. It's Beard Laws. And joining me as always is, well, let me have him introduce himself.
Well, by the beard of Neptune, it's me, the one and only Luther Grimwood, spinning tales and stirring pots. And tonight, we're diving headfirst into that Texas mystery like a cowboy who forgot his hat but brought extra intrigue. Let's see what floats to the top.
Ooh, let's see what floats to the top. Do you believe in aliens, Luther? Do you think there's more life than we know?
Oh, Matt, I like to say, if the universe is a big weird beard, we've only combed the first inch. Odds are there's something out there, whether it's little green men or just some cosmic bacteria with a sense of humor. Either way, I'm ready to shake hands, assuming they have them.
Ooh, a lot of things I've seen, it's more like three fingers and, interesting heads. And pretty much some people... Never mind. I was going to make an inappropriate joke. But yeah, it'd be interesting to encounter one of these. And it's... I'm a big fan of when it's decent, outside, summertime. So the 1 month of the year, it's nice around these parts where I live. And just kind of look up. Just be a stargazer, right? Just kind of look. And now it's more interesting because... I remember growing up, every once in a while, maybe you'd see a shooting star. I think one time I saw something weird in the sky that scared me as a kid forever. Maybe it was explainable. Maybe it wasn't. But like now with all the satellites and the Starlink and everything, there is just constant movement in our sky. And I mean, I'm not that old, I'm 40. It's old, but not like super old. But the amount of technology that is in the sky compared to, when I was a kid not too long ago, we've evolved pretty quickly.
Oh, absolutely. Back in the day, if you saw something moving, oh, absolutely. It's like we've gone from dial-up internet to warp speed, but in the sky. These days, it's hard to tell if you're seeing a cosmic marvel or just Elon Musk's latest sky parade. But hey, whether it's aliens or just a satellite in a midlife crisis, the wonder is still there. Plus, I say, if they ever land, we'll introduce them to a good podcast. Ours, of course.
Oh, I was going to say, which good podcast? I'm always looking for recommendations, but if you're looking for recommendations and you want something out of this world, you know what I check out, Luther? I check out Live Bearded. They're all natural ingredients, 365-day guarantee. I'm going to tell you, it is the best beard products that I have ever used. And I mean, look at this sweet beard. I got the braid going on today for anybody that's watching and not just listening. And it's all thanks to our friends at Live Bearded. So make sure you guys go over to livebearded.com. Use code BEARDLAWS. They have some pretty amazing stuff. I am currently wearing the American, and boy, does it smell good, Luther. What do you got in your beard today?
Well, let me tell you, Matt, I'm rocking a scent so mysterious it might be from another dimension. Midnight Explorer. It smells like if a campfire told you a secret. But hey, whether it's the American or a cosmic cologne, one thing's for sure. Our beards are always ready for interstellar adventures.
Yeah, and I know you're lying. Did you shave your beard again? Because Live Bearded doesn't have a scent that is called that. So either you're lying or you decided to go off the wall and not use the best beard products, and that's not cool, Luther. Not cool at all.
Caught red-handed, or should I say bare-chinned. I'm all in for Live Bearded. I was just channeling my inner mystery for the show. Rest assured, my beard is still pampered and proud. Let's keep those braids epic and the honesty intact. No shaving here. Just a little fun.
All right. I knew you're such a jokester. Let's go ahead and jump into this episode. We're going to travel back to late December 1980. I wasn't around yet. Luther, he's old as hell, so he was. We're going to go over to East Texas, which at the time, it doesn't feel like the center of anything. It's one of those quiet, kind of spread out places, the places that have like long stretches of road with trees on both sides and very little traffic once the sun goes down. And that's where this begins, because on a road just outside Dayton, Texas, inside a car, there's three people: Betty Cash, Vicky Landrum, and Vicky's youngest grandson, Colby. They're not really out looking for anything. They're not even stargazing or sky watching. They're not chasing a story. They're simply doing what they've done plenty of times before. They're just driving home. And that's important, because the best, maybe even most unsettling stories, they don't start with people looking for something strange. They start with people doing something completely ordinary.
Exactly. You know it's a real eerie tale when you're just minding your own business and suddenly, boom, the universe throws a curveball. And in the case of Betty, Vicky, and Colby, they didn't get a shooting star, they got a whole cosmic roller coaster. So buckle up, because ordinary roads sometimes lead to extraordinary stories.
I like it. Have you ever had anything happen to you that was just kind of like a normal, ordinary day, and then it just kind of turned into one of those what kind of moments, like in Texas, 1980? Were you there?
Oh, I wish. I wasn't there in Texas 1980, but I've had my share of what on earth moments. Like the time I found a lost dog that led me to a backyard barbecue. It wasn't extraterrestrial, but it was a surprise feast. Sometimes the ordinary leads to the best unexpected stories.
Oh, that's what I've heard. All right, so heading back to this story, at first, everything was just kind of subtle, right? There was a little bit of a glow in the distance, kind of that moment when you see something far off and your brain tries to categorize it, like, is it the sunset? Is the moon full and really low tonight? Is there somebody that's having a big fire? Oh my gosh, is somebody's house on fire? Maybe it's a plane, maybe it's a tower light, maybe it's a helicopter, and I think that's where they are. That's where they are in the moment. Their brain is trying to figure out what's going on. They're trying to make sense of it. But the glow, it doesn't really just stay where it should. It continually just kept getting brighter and brighter and brighter and closer and closer and lower and lower. And within moments, it's no longer something that's far away in the distance. It's actually right in front of them.
And that's when you know you're in for a wild ride. When the maybe it's a plane turns into, oh no, it's right in my lane. At that point, you can toss the ordinary right out the window. The fact that they're all about to face something that will leave them wondering forever, well, that's what turns a quiet Texas road into the stuff of legends.
Yeah, and it's what they described. It wasn't vague. It wasn't like it's kind of round or maybe it looked like this, y'all. They describe it as a diamond-shaped object, large, and it was close enough that it fills their view of the road ahead. And it's not just hovering quietly. Apparently, this thing looks unstable. It's emitting flames from the bottom. It's not a steady glow. It's like bursts, and something was described, I guess, as something struggling to maintain control. And the light, it wasn't soft. It was harsh. It was bright, and it was borderline blinding. It was the kind of light that you knew you looked at. Well, they looked at. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't want to ever see this, and it didn't feel natural. And then there was the sound. It wasn't silence. It's not the smooth hum people often describe with UFOs. Apparently, this was loud, like very loud. It was rough. It was like something under stress, like pressure trying to escape. And in that moment, everything shifts.
And that's the moment where weird gets real. When you can feel it in your bones, and it's not some friendly light show, it's something unpredictable. So yeah, if I ever see a diamond spitting fire, I'll be driving the other way. But for them, it's the start of something they'd never forget, and neither will we.
Yeah. And I mean, they're sitting there, and this isn't just something strange in the sky. It's something that's strange in front of them, strangely in their space, blocking the road, controlling what happens next. And I couldn't imagine what's going through their brain, what's going, their heart rate's got to be through the roof. And I mean, grandma mode probably has to come out. You got to protect your grandson, right?
Oh, absolutely. Grandma mode kicks in like a superhero transformation. Whatever this thing is, you're not letting it mess with your family. And that's the part where fear and courage collide because protecting that kid becomes the only focus. Suddenly, you're not just reacting, you're ready for anything, even if it's straight out of science fiction.
Even if it was right out of science fiction. I like that. Let's get to the moment here where the story kind of changes from interesting to a little uncomfortable because they don't just see it. Now they feel it. And at first it's subtle. It's a little bit of a warmth, which December, 80s, Texas, not hot, but it's enough to warm them, all right? And if I'm feeling a warming sensation while this is happening, it's probably me peeing my pants.
Honestly, I'd be right there with you. But for them, that warmth wasn't just nerves. It grew until it was unbearable. That's when the line between strange and dangerous blurs. And the fact that they'd later report physical burns, that's the stuff that sticks with you long after the lights vanish.
Long after the lights vanish, and that warmth that we just messaged a minute ago. It's something that you might brush off, right? But it builds, and it starts to build quickly. The inside of the car actually starts to heat up. The dashboard, when they reach out and touch it, it feels warm, and the air itself is shifted to like a thick, heavy, like you could just tell that it was wrong. And then it becomes impossible to ignore. This isn't warmth anymore. Now it's heat. And it's the kind of heat that makes your body react instantly. The kind that tells you you're too close to something dangerous. So Betty slows the car down. Not because she wants to stop. She doesn't have a choice at this point.
And that's when you realize you're in over your head. It's no longer a curiosity, it's survival instincts kicking in. When your car feels like an oven and you're stuck facing a giant flaming diamond, well, ordinary rules are out the window. Betty didn't stop because she wanted to. She stopped because at that point, the unknown was in control.
It sure was. And the unknown that was getting a little out of control, it was getting pretty intense. And at this point, the object was too close to even safely get around. So then a decision needed to be made, and it needed to be made pretty quickly. And maybe that decision kind of feels small in the moment, but it really changes everything after. You know what she did, Luther? She opens the door.
That's the moment where curiosity and sheer adrenaline collide. She steps out into the unknown, and that choice, it changes everything. Because now this isn't just something they saw, it's something they faced. And once you open that door, you can't close the story. You're in it for the long haul.
You're in it for the long haul. I have to imagine this is a decision that I'm not making. I don't understand why you'd get out. I feel like I'd be slamming that thing in reverse. What's going to be your move?
Oh, I'm with you. I'd be doing a 3-point turn faster than you can say UFO. But hey, sometimes fear freezes you. And for Betty, maybe it was that mix of awe and what even is this? Either way, once that door opened, they were stepping into the unknown. And that's a story that sticks.
Into the unknown, into the... Oh, sorry. Anyways, this is what happens. She opens the door. Just a crack, though. Just enough to kind of take a look. Just enough to understand what they're dealing with. And the second that door opens, everything hits at once. The heat isn't contained anymore. It actually rushes in. So what does she do? She steps out and instantly feels it. It's not like standing in the sun. It's not like standing next to a fire. This is immediate. This is aggressive. She later described it as like being burned on contact, like the air itself was attacking her skin. Like it was overwhelming, it was disorienting, and for a brief moment, there's no curiosity left. Only one thought. Get back in the damn car. So she slams the door shut, but whatever just happened, it didn't stay outside. It's now inside the car.
And that's where it goes from bizarre to terrifying. When the danger isn't out there anymore, it's right there with you. That kind of instant searing heat isn't just discomfort. It's a whole new level of panic. And even though she got back in the car, that moment left a mark. Literally and figuratively.
Yeah, because the car now has surfaces that are hot. The air, it feels suffocating. The entire space feels like it's been contaminated by whatever the object was giving off. Obviously, sitting over in the passenger seat, Vicky is panicking. Little Colby, he's crying. And Vicky does something that tells you exactly how she's processing this. She starts to pray. Not because she's trying to make sense of it, but because in that moment, this doesn't feel like something you explain. It feels like something you simply need to survive. And just when it feels like this moment couldn't get any more intense, Luther, the sky changes again. At first, it's a sound, different from the object, more familiar. Then there's lights, there's movement, there's approaching, there's helicopters. One becomes two, two becomes three, three becomes a bunch. And then suddenly, there's a lot going on here. The witnesses, they then describe multiple military-style helicopters, and they weren't circling randomly. They weren't reacting with confusion. They seemed to be moving with a purpose, surrounding the object, tracking the object, staying in formation. And this is where everything shifts again, because now the question isn't just, what is that thing? It becomes, why does it look like somebody already knows about this thing? I mean, think about it. If this were completely unknown, you'd expect chaos, emergency response teams, uncertainty, but it didn't look like that. It looks like it was almost coordinated, like the helicopters aren't discovering the object. It's almost like they're managing the object.
And that's the kicker, isn't it? When it looks like the cavalry isn't surprised at all. Suddenly this whole ordeal isn't just weird, it feels like a cover-up in motion. It's the kind of twist that makes you wonder, how much don't we know? And for Betty, Vicky, and Colby, they were left smack in the middle of that mystery.
Yes, they were. And then all of a sudden, the object begins to rise. Slowly, not smoothly at all, not effortlessly, like something forcing itself upward. The flames, they intensified, the light grew stronger, but the helicopters, they stay right with it, perfectly aligned. And for a moment, everything in the sky kind of felt connected. And then, just like that, it's gone. There was no explosion, no crash, no debris, just darkness. The road returned to what it was before. It was quiet, still, but nothing feels the same because now they're not just driving home, they're leaving something behind, and they have no idea what they just experienced. But they end up making it home. They're shaken, they're confused, but they're alive. And they're trying to explain something that doesn't fit into anything familiar. And for a brief moment, it almost feels like it's over. Like maybe it was just something they saw, and the story ends. But guess what, Luther? Within hours, their bodies start to tell a little bit of a different story. Because whatever that object was, it didn't just pass through the sky. It actually left something behind.
And that's the part you can't shake off. When the strange story becomes a painful reality. Their burns, their sickness, it was like their bodies were proof of something no one could easily explain away. That's the haunting part. When the story doesn't end with the lights fading, but with real lasting consequences. And from that point on, they weren't just witnesses. They were part of the mystery itself.
Yeah, because, if this was just a sighting, the story just would have ended on the road. It would have been over. We wouldn't need to talk anything else, right? But there's 3 people that see something they can't explain. They go home. They tell the story. And over time, it fades into the background like a lot of stories do. But that's not what happened here, because within hours, their bodies, they start reacting like they were exposed to, well, something pretty dangerous, something physical, something that didn't stay in the sky. That night, then into the next day, and the next night, they just kept feeling more and more off. At first it was kind of something easy to dismiss. You just went through some trauma. You had a little bit of a headache. You had some fatigue. You had a little nausea. You kind of just chalk it up to stress, right? Fear. It does some strange things to the old body, but it doesn't stop. It actually builds. Betty Cash, she begins to feel worse, not gradually, rapidly. The nausea, it intensified. Her head is just throbbing, and her skin starts to feel pretty irritated and sensitive, like it's reacting to something. And then there starts to be visible signs, blisters. And I'm not talking like small little blisters. It wasn't just minor irritation, it was large, painful blisters that were forming on her skin. Her face starts to swell, her eyes become irritated, her body feels weak, it feels drained, like something has taken more out of her than just a frightening experience. And then comes, in my opinion, one of the most unsettling details. Her hair begins to fall out. Not all at once, but enough to notice, enough to alarm, because now this isn't something you explain away with stress. This is physical damage.
Exactly. At that point, it's not a campfire tale, it's a medical nightmare. When your hair falls out and blisters form, you're way beyond just nerves. That's why this case stuck, because it left scars, literally and figuratively. And the fact that it wasn't just her, but all three of them, makes you wonder what they really encountered that night.
Yeah, and you're probably thinking, well, what about Vicky and what about little baby Colby? Well, they're not untouched. They experience some stuff too. They had weakness, they had irritation, discomfort. But Betty, she took the worst of it. And obviously, you're not feeling well, you got some stuff going on, you go ahead and you seek medical help, right? Because they have to at this point. So doctors, they start checking over Betty. They're trying to understand what could cause symptoms like this. Burns without a fire, blisters without a clear source, hair loss without a known illness tied to it. And here's where things get uncomfortable. The symptoms, they start to resemble something pretty specific. Do you have any guesses, Luther? Because it was the first thing that popped in my brain. Radiation exposure. Now, to be clear, no doctors actually came out and definitively said, this is radiation poisoning. But the overlap is pretty hard to ignore. I mean, you have skin damage, you have hair loss, nausea, weakness. It lines up in a way that makes you pause. Because now the question shifts again. Not just, what did they see, but what were they exposed to?
Exactly. When your symptoms mirror radiation exposure, you can't just shrug it off. Even if no one stamped a diagnosis, the overlap is chilling. It leaves you wondering what in the world, or beyond it, could produce that kind of effect. And that's why this story never fades. Because even if we can't explain it, it's impossible to forget.
Yeah, and it's kind of shifting from, well, a story to a situation. I mean, now you got medical bills, you have ongoing symptoms, a real impact on somebody's life. And so Betty Cash and Vicky Landrum, they make a decision. They take it further. They file a lawsuit against the United States government. Their claim is simple. Their claim is direct. What they encountered that night was connected to a military operation. Whatever that craft was, it caused harm. Now think about the position they're putting themselves in. They're not saying like, hey, we saw something strange. They're now saying you were involved and you are responsible. That's not casual accusation. I mean, that's pretty tough. And especially once you start going against the government, sometimes people just disappear. And you're probably thinking, all right, well, what happens next? Tell me. Well, you'd expect an investigation, a deep dive, questions being asked. Because if this were true, it would matter. But instead, the response is immediate and absolute. There are no records. There's no helicopter activity matching that description. No military operation in that area at the time. No experimental craft. Nothing. And this is where the story tightens, because now you have two competing realities. On one side, three witnesses, consistent accounts, physical symptoms. But on the other, an official statement that says, nah, none of it happened. So then the case moves through the legal system. And this is where the technical side of things start to take over, because in court, it's not enough to say something happened. You have to prove it. And more importantly, you have to prove who is responsible. And that's where things start to break down, because they cannot definitively prove that the helicopters belong to the U.S. military. They cannot produce documentation that tie the craft to a specific government program. What the connection, or without that connection, the case doesn't hold, and so just gets dismissed. Not because the court proves nothing happened, but because it can't prove who caused it. And just like that, the legal side of the story ends. No admission, no compensation, no explanation. And I mean, come on. This is where you kind of have to sit back with it for a second, because forget the theories, forget aliens, forget speculation. Just look at what's left. You have three people. They see something, they feel something, and they all describe it the same exact way. One of them just develops some pretty serious physical symptoms right after. Symptoms that don't have a clean, simple explanation. So they go to court, and the outcome isn't this didn't happen. It's we can't prove who did it. And that's a very different thing, because it kind of leaves the door open, right, Luther?
Oh, absolutely. That door is wide open, swinging in the breeze of unanswered questions. It's not a tidy ending. It's a void where explanations should be. Whether it was a government secret, a misidentification, or something stranger, we're left with that eerie gap. And for those three, that night didn't just vanish into the sky. It stayed with them. So yeah, the questions still linger. And that's what makes this one stick.
Yeah. And I think we need to really ask the question that matters. What fits all of this? Was it a secret military test? Was it something experimental? Was it unstable? Was it not meant to be seen? I mean, it would explain the heat, the helicopters, the denial, something involving radiation, a propulsion system, an energy source, something that produces side effects. I mean, it would explain the symptoms, the physical damage, or something not human that maybe the military was tracking. Now, the helicopters, I mean, they make sense, but kind of like in a different way, like not control, but response.
Exactly. It's that duality. Was it ours or was it something we couldn't control? Either way, it's a puzzle with missing pieces. Maybe the scariest part is we don't know which scenario is more unsettling. Secret tech going wrong or something beyond us altogether. In the end, what's left is that nagging uncertainty. And that's why this story never truly settles.
Yeah, I mean, first thing that pops in my brain is the government's testing, some kind of nuclear technology, some kind of, weapon that can be used in a future war if needed. But either way, we're all left with something that doesn't kind of resolve cleanly, right? There's no confirmed explanation, there's no official acknowledgement. There's just a series of events that don't quite line up with any one answer. But here's the part that sticks. It's not the object, it's not the symptoms, it's the silence. Because when something happens and the response is immediate denial, complete lack of records, and no follow-up explanation, I feel like that kind of does tell you something, right? Maybe not exactly what happened, but it kind of tells you that something, it sure did happen.
Oh, absolutely. The loudest noise is often silence, right? When every official door is slammed shut, you know you've tapped something sensitive. Whether it's classified or just unexplainable, that silence says we don't want to touch this. And that's why it lingers. You're left not with closure, but with a big mysterious why. And I think that's what keeps us talking, because it's never just nothing.
Yeah, and maybe the terrible truth isn't that we were visited or something went wrong. Maybe it's simpler than that. Maybe it's that whatever happened that night was easier to erase than it was to explain. But that's all we got for this week's episode of the Triple T Podcast. I'm Matt. That's Luther. Luther, hit us with the cool outro.
Well, folks, by the beard of mystery itself, we've stirred this pot, and what floated to the top is more questions. Stay curious, stay weird, And until next time, keep those eyes on the sky. Luther out.
Luther's out. So am I. Can't thank you enough from the bottom of my braided beard for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed it, do all the stuff. Give it the likes, give it the follows, give it the reviews. It would be greatly appreciated. If you have any topics that you want us to dive deep into, please let us know. But either way, we'll be back next week. Take care, everybody.